excellent job.
Was it that Maselson did this instead of you?
Well, Maselson is one of the most distinguished molecular chemical scientists. To be frank, the effects of herbicides is not my field at all.
That's right.
I just felt as a scientist I had to push it, right. And
are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So back up and just before the blink started there and summarize.
Well, as I said, I decided early in 1969 to organize a 1 or 2 man trip to Vietnam to learn as much as we could. I was lucky to get Dr. Gordon Orions, a very good ecologist from the University of Washington, to go along with me. And he was an invaluable help. And we spent about 3 weeks over there and got back and wrote up a report for the AAAS, which was published in their major scientific journal, Science. It's the largest read, I think, of any. And it resulted in widespread interest in the matter because Science is a very prestigious magazine. And I was very appreciative of the board of Science for publishing our article, almost unedited. And later in the year, I went back to Southeast Asia on another herbicide job. And the 1969 AAAS meeting was held, I think, in New York. I was not there because I was in Southeast Asia. And I come back to find that the Committee on Council Affairs has set up a commission to assess the effects of herbicides in Vietnam, appropriated $50,000, and put in as chairman, director, my friend, the very eminent Harvard biochemist Matthew Maselson, who is one of the best scientists I've ever known, and a scientist with a real social conscience. He's subsequently, and before, he's spoken out on a lot of issues. And I was very pleased that he put together an excellent commission, and they went over there. And I went to the 1970 December meetings of the annual meetings of the AAAS, where Maselson and his partner, second in command, it was quite a big group, but Arthur Westing was the second. They both presented the results of their about 2 or 3 month investigation in Vietnam. And Maselson is just a tremendously innovative and careful and imaginative investigator. And he really turned up all kinds of things that were just terribly damaging. And I found out, I think I'm correct in this, that a copy of his report got to the White House. Anyway, the day that Matthew Maselson presented the results of the AAAS Herbicide Assessment Commission, it was in Chicago, Nixon announced the cessation of the herbicide program that day. And I like to think that we accomplished something, because there was 2 million gallons of Agent Orange sitting over there waiting to be sprayed. And they had every intent, the Pentagon did, of using it all, and probably more. They were very upset about being ordered to stop. I know that because we went over there in 1971 when the herbicide planes were spraying insecticides against malarial mosquitoes. And the poor pilots, they kind of liked that. It was a pretty sporty operation, spraying those herbicides, because my friends of the NFL, National Liberation Front, didn't like it, and in fact, we took some enemy, not enemy to me, some bullets into our airplane while we were doing one of the spray missions. So that report ended the herbicide program. Now, what happened then is that Congress got involved and demanded that the Pentagon work with the National Academy of Sciences to make a more thorough study as the war was winding down. Well, there were no more American troops there, and it was just about over. It was in 74 and 75, I think. And the National Academy of Science did an excellent job, really good. Several volumes, which has been used by a lot of people. So I have to say that eventually, due to my persistence, if I can take credit for that, and the assistance of some outstanding, brave scientists that helped me, would appear at the council and support my resolution, that we got the job done. Mind you, at the expense of, subsequently, when we were first over there, we didn't know anything about dioxin. We didn't know it had any damaging effect on animals or humans. But as we all know, it turned out that the Dow Chemical Company, Monsanto and all, lied to the Air Force when they sold them this stuff. They had known since 1950 that it was contaminated with a very dangerous material, one of the dioxins, one of the most toxic substances in the world. And we dumped something like 300 pounds of it on the people of South Vietnam and animals. And of course, with tragic results. I mean, if the AAAS had done what it finally did 4 years after my resolution, I don't know how much damage it would have prevented. Not just to the forests and fields, but to the people. Damage which is absolutely irreparable. And I want to point out very strongly to our soldiers, most of whom who, as you know, were conscripted to go, and I felt very sorry for them, particularly after I went out in the field with them, talking with them, how much they despised that war. And of course, they're still paying for it. I've got friends right here in Missoula who have to go to the hospital, just permanently disabled, probably due to dioxin. And some of them have now been compensated for. But it's so difficult there was such a mess of other stuff over there, but it's almost certain that, well, in my mind, it is certain that the dioxins we dropped in Vietnam not only damaged the health of the Vietnamese, but also large numbers of American soldiers.
How could scientists, good background, good standing, turn their back on this? Why did it take 4 years for the resolution to get put through?
I've thought about that a lot, and I've got a lot of notes, records showing what kind of tactics they used to divert the energies of the thrust of the resolution. One reason is very simple. Quite a few of them in the AAAS and the people on the committees I work with were in favor of the war. And they used their political positions to stop a scientific endeavor. I never said whether I was for the war or against it in arguing my resolution. I just said I think we have the duty to find out what this stuff is doing. That's what any good scientist does. And the irony of it was that the AAAS in the late 50s, I think, had set up a committee on the social responsibility of scientists and expounded at some length that we ought to do exactly what I was trying to get them to do. so they wouldn't even live up to their own concepts and ideas. And well, as I say, the only thing I can really put my finger on is that some of the key ones were definitely in favor of the war, and they could see that this was going to cause a lot of trouble. I'm afraid that's my date.
Are you late for your date?